That was last Thursday here in Nashville, and by the left's new favorite definition, it sure looks like an insurrection to me. These insurrectionists claim it was just a peaceful protest against gun rights. Yeah, sure. Enough with this. The left's favorite argument is that they only want some of your guns. Where have we seen this movie before? Kind of like how we just needed 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Be careful giving up your rights and freedoms, folks. You will likely never get them back. And P.S., you'll have a better chance of outlawing air in Tennessee than guns. Joining me now with his thoughts on that and so much more is entrepreneur and author of Find Your Hill, Ian Smith. Ian, it's great to have you, and I have a feeling you have a lot to say about all of this trans wonders that we've experienced in the last couple of weeks.
Of course, it's hilarious seeing the insurrection, being that I was there on January 6th and I saw what the peaceful protest actually looked like from a bird's eye view and from my perspective. And we've seen, what, 2-3 incidents now where these people have stormed the Capitol with zero repercussions for them. Yet we have people that were led in by the police on January 6th who are still in prison to this day. It's absolutely disgusting. And it's something that I think every single American should be up in arms about, because this is a two-tier justice system. And most Americans are falling within the target of that justice system.
Were you surprised after the Tucker Carlson report and then the release of the QAnon shaman last week? Were you surprised to see that happen so quickly, or do you think that they had no choice?
I think that they have no choice. You know, most people that you'll talk to on a regular basis kind of understand that, like, January 6th was not what they say it is. Not a whole lot of people really understand what it actually was, but I think that most Americans can look at that and go, I don't know if it was as bad as Pearl Harbor, you know, like the left likes to say. So I think they're running out of road here, and it's about time. I mean, we're almost 2 years out. We're 2 years out from it. It's insane that these people are still behind bars. These are good, honest Americans who didn't do anything wrong. They didn't harm anybody, and their lives have been absolutely ruined to further a political cause. And if that happens in America, then, you know, what freedoms do we actually have? I mean, our country's eroding in front of us, and it couldn't be more clear.
Well, we're going to talk about that more a little later, because that justice system is going after Donald Trump again, and I want to get your thoughts. But first, I want to go back to this, because here in Nashville, Tennessee, a week ago, we had 6 Christians gunned down, shot up by a transgender person. And if you only watch the mainstream media, you would think it was the other way around, because we've had the White House talk about how trans people are under attack. We've had a trans day of vengeance, which turned into visibility. We've had everything trans, companies coming out in support of trans rights, you name it. And to me, it really feels like we're glossing over the 6 Christians who were murdered here in Nashville. I know that you probably have a take on that, and you're probably equally as disgusted.
We should be disgusted no matter what. You know, 6 lives lost, 3 children, you know, and three adults is a horrible thing to happen, regardless of who you are. But what really hurts is that these are not a protected class of people, you know, even though they're literally children, but they don't fall into these definitions of oppressed minorities or oppressed classes of people. So our leaders, or our, you know, if you want to call them our leaders, our selected leaders, have zero concern for it whatsoever. But if the tables were turned in, and God forbid it was 3 trans children, or God forbid it was 3 people of the LGBT community, or if it was 3 other protected minorities, that would be a hate crime. And people would be prosecuted right away, and you would hear all sorts of claims about, you know, it's white people's fault, or it's straight people's fault, or it's this. And now they just want to sweep it right under the rug. And we've seen this so many times. And it just really makes it clear who is important to these people. They are not interested in the average American. They're not interested in the concerns of the average American's safety. They are looking for professional victims who want to be taken care of by the government, because these are the people that are going to hand over that control that we were talking about to the government, which is exactly what they want. They want more control, so they'll placate these people and they'll pretend like they're their friends. They've done this to the Black community for years and years and years. They pretended like they're always going to be there, and the Black community always winds up getting the short end of the stick when Democrats get their votes and they pull out and come back 4 years later looking for more.
Well, you mentioned what the left usually reacts to when we have some kind of a shooting situation, and it's usually toxic masculinity, white males are the problem. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but here you have a white person who identified as a man, but now we're not talking about toxic masculinity because this person happened to be trans. Oh, and by the way, they refused to release the manifesto that we know that we have, that our police chief in Nashville alluded to it being a targeted crime because of that manifesto and other evidence that they found. Why do you think they're not releasing this manifesto? What do you think we would find in it if they would be so brave and so bold as to let the American people see what's in it?
Well, you'd find out what we already know, that this was a hate crime, that this was somebody who is clearly unhinged, somebody who is clearly mentally unstable, and who really does need help. These people, you know, they have mental issues, and that's not a problem. The problem is that they're not being helped. They're just continuously being told that they're these victims and that there's this genocide against them, and there's all these things when in reality, these people just need some help and some counseling or whatever it is. They don't need to be told that they're victims. They don't need to be told that the world hates them. They don't need to be told that white people or straight people are coming after them, because the reality is that we could care less. We just want our schools to be safe. And if this person wrote a manifesto before they committed this heinous crime, that should be out for the public to see, because I bet you that there's something in there that is of concern. The government never releases anything of any value, you know, and when they do, it's usually redacted, you know, to the point of absurdity. So of course there's something in there, and of course there's something they're hiding, because it'll blow the narrative up that they're trying to push, that, you know, that trans people are under attack, when in reality these people are completely unhinged. They're out of touch with reality. They're pumped up with drugs that they shouldn't be pumped up with. And you want to talk about toxic masculinity? There's nothing more toxically masculine than a woman pretending to be an aggressive male and totally mischaracterizing what it means to be a man. Being a man doesn't mean that you go around hurting people. It doesn't mean that you're violent. It means that you protect. And there's no better example of toxic masculinity than a woman who shot up a bunch of testosterone and messed her headspace up so badly that she decided that she was going to get a gun and go to a school where there are innocent children and shoot them.
Right. Well, I also believe that trans people are victims, but they're not victimized by who the left wants you to think they're victimized by. They're victimized by the left and by Big Pharma, who wants to exploit these people for their entire lives. Because once you get these people on these hormones and you start with the puberty blockers, this, that, and the other, you have a customer for life. So Big Pharma is behind all of this. The Democrats, you're right, they see them as useful idiots. They see them as pawns in the game. So I do feel badly for these people, and I wish that they could recognize that the people that they think are their enemies are quite actually their allies, and we want to see them get the help that they so desperately need. But I want to talk about, because you brought up something and I want to get your take on it. It's been really swept under the rug, but the government just came out and said that they found the motive behind the Las Vegas shooting, and it was because the gentleman was upset at the casinos. And that's what they finally came out with. Years and years later, we really heard nothing about that. It was really hush. Nobody talked about it. Nobody wanted to know anything about it. But all of a sudden, they found the answer. He went and shot up a music festival because he was mad at the casino. How legitimate do you think that answer is for us?
That makes absolutely no sense. The likelihood of that happening is zero. There's not even a chance. I mean, I'm a gambler myself. I've lost plenty of money in the casinos. The only person I ever wanted to shoot was myself when I was done. There's no way that this man decided that he was so angry at the casino that he was going to bring whatever it was, 20 some guns upstairs and shoot into a crowd who had nothing to do with it. I mean, this just shows you what the people that are in control of our government think of us, and in terms of our intelligence. Like, that's the story we get after however many years it's been, 4 or 5 years. That's the story we get. And they think that we're just going to buy that. And it just really shows you that, like, these people think that Americans are stupid, and they think that they're just going to buy anything, and that they can just say or do whatever they please. Oh yeah, the Las Vegas shooter, he was mad about a gambling loss, so he committed a massacre of epic proportions. You know, anybody who would even remotely believe that, I mean, is of the lowest level of intelligence possible. And most Americans are going to look at that and laugh. but we've lost so much faith in our government that we don't even expect them to tell the truth anymore. Anybody who's heard that laughed at it and just goes on with their day because they don't even expect to be told the real story behind anything anymore. We haven't been told the real story for who knows how long. We've been led into wars. We've been led into this. We've been led into lockdowns, shutdowns, mandates, all these things. Everything the government does is based on a lie.
Well, that brings us to the news of the day, the Trump indictment. Now, listen, I think this is a dark day for justice. I think it's despicable. I think that in the end, Trump will be victorious on the legal counts of all of this. They've tried to go after this man so many times, and it has failed. And I think this is maybe the weakest case they've ever had against the man. But they're bringing it forth because I think that they know that in a general election, this will damage him. But I want to get your thoughts on this, not just on the indictment itself, but what this means for 2024 and what your advice would be to the conservative movement, the MAGA movement, the Republican Party moving forward on how we need to use this, how we need to strategize with this, and what's the best case scenario for our party moving forward.
You know, the indictment, I read through parts of it, and I've read through a couple people who are of much more of a legal mind than I am, and it is a very, very weak indictment. It's not going to go anywhere. I think they know that. They're going to try to just drag it out as much as they possibly can. When it comes to the response, I think this is something that we should lean into, you know, and I don't think that Trump is afraid to do that. And I think he's already begun to do that. But as conservatives, as pro-America, America first Americans, we need to lean into this idea that they think that we're the bad guy. Stop trying to prove yourself, you know, to these people, because there's no proving that we're not bad to them. They're always going to try to villainize us. They're always going to try to say that we're the bad guys and we're trying to do this and we're trying to oppress. Go ahead. Let them talk all we want. Continue to mobilize and organize. We can't even bother. It's a laughable scenario. So treat it like the joke that it is. It was just like, you know, at Attila's gym when we were arrested. We knew it was a joke, so we made an absolute joke of it. We were sitting in a holding cell, arrested because we took the doors off of our business. And what did we do? We got our cell phones and we went on, you know, Instagram Live, and we were joking and laughing and making fun of the prosecutor who was trying to come up with some charges. So lean into it, ignore it. And focus on the real thing, and that is getting ready for the biggest election that we've ever had, the most important election we've ever had, and dedicating our time and our energy and our money to making sure that we don't see a repeat of 2020.
So going along with that, here's my fear and concern. I believe that Republicans will mobilize around Donald Trump. I believe the mega voters that have been with Trump since 2016 will continue to be there more forcefully than ever. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. However, what I'm concerned about is the independents. We can't win on Republicans alone, and we're not even going to get all of Republicans if we have Trump as our nominee. How do we reach out to independents who are just sick of the drama? They're sick of the Trump show. They just want to move forward. They want to save the country. They think Biden's a joke. They think Democrats are a joke, but they will not, under any circumstances, vote for Donald Trump. What do we do with that very real reality into 2024? As you mentioned, the most important election probably of our lifetime.
You know, that's a really good question, because independent voters for the most part, they're always going to decide the election. And you're right. A lot of people are kind of just sick of the drama. Like, it's not necessarily like they don't not like Trump. They're just tired of the chaos that comes with him, right? Because even if Trump does the right thing, there's chaos because these people have not left him alone since 2017. There's always something connected to him. So I think it's just a matter of changing the messaging a little bit. Like, they're going to continue to hammer at Trump, hammer at Trump, hammer at Trump, hammer at Trump. And I think as conservatives, we just have to show something better, and show that we are the better option, and that what we are presenting, yes, it does come with the baggage of like the political theater and the drama, you know, but there aren't any other viable options. Ron DeSantis is not another viable option. You know, I don't care what anybody thinks about him. You can call him America's governor and all that, but he's not a presidential candidate. The reality is that most people can at least put it in their mind what life was like under Trump before COVID. And that was a great time for every single American. And I think if we can get that messaging out there, that's what we're trying to restore: the sanity, pre-March 2020. Everybody had money in their pockets. Gas was cheap. Life was good. Nobody was testing us on the world stage. And we need to remind the independent voters that that is what America First offers. That's what Donald Trump offers. And all the other stuff is what we have to deal with because of the political theater. It's just part of the game. There's not going to be a third party candidate, and there's not going to be a secondary Republican who's going to provide any real challenge and any better option than what Donald Trump has. He's shown that he can do the job. He's shown that he's versed in geopolitics. He's shown that he can steer the economy in the right direction. And these are the issues that are in the forefront of people's minds right now: war and economy. And we need to remind them that under Donald Trump, we had no new wars. And under Donald Trump, we had a great economy.
I think you're right about that. That needs to be the strategy heading into 2024, just in general. It needs to be, let's get America back. Let's save America. It used to be great. This political party, this president has destroyed it. And I think that that is a winning message if we communicate it effectively and we get our ground game mobilized. Because if we do not take advantage of ballot harvesting where it's legal and early voting, we will lose, and we will sit there with our tail between our legs and wonder why, like we always do. So that can't be an option. But Ian, thank you for being with me, for standing strong. I always appreciate your commentary. We'll talk to you soon.